Sarah, I'm happy to be here. Calling in from Washington, D.C. I see many familiar faces and some new ones, and I'm looking forward to being in a present moment awareness practice together, not necessarily physically in the same space because we're already across time zones in the space-time continuum, but certainly mentally with our minds and with our souls and with our hearts being in the present together. Usually you see me on the first of each Hebrew month. What is different about today is that it's already the fourth of the month of Sivan. And so you missed me on Friday because we were at our staff retreat and I was on an airplane. But I'm happy to be here with you all. And hopefully the first 4 days of Sivan have been going well for you. I'm here to help us integrate into what's happening in the present moment with the Hebrew calendar. I also like to remind folks that if you're here to sit and you just want to sit with us virtually, you can just mute me and come back for the Mourner's Kaddish at the end. But really what it is that I'm here to offer a teaching, and if it lands, that's awesome. And if it doesn't land, just let it wash right over you. This time is for you. So we are here in the month of Sivan. Sivan is really connected to the 2 months prior. So we had 2 moons ago, we had Nisan, where the full moon of Nisan is Passover. And that's really where this spring in the Hebrew calendar is connected, starts. And then we have Passover, which is our first opportunity to recognize and step into freedom. And then the next month, we have the month of ER, which is really about focusing our intention and our spiritual questing on healing what needs to be healed within us in order to be the most free and most available. And we do the Omer as part of that. And now for all my Jewish time geeks, we know we've been counting the Omer and we're on those last final days right to the 9th of Sivan, which will be Shavuot. And here we are really, really close to that day. Sivan is sort of the culmination of that time between Passover and now, where we are on a spiritual climb towards our biggest revelation, towards the most open and available that we can possibly be to Torah, wisdom, ideas, generating intellect, and downloading any sort of spiritual connection that we possibly can. So this is like a big time. If you've been counting and you've been going through all of the sort of inner work to become open and available, like we're ready for it. And when Sivan, Rosh Chodesh Sivan comes, we know that we're close to that really awesome moment when we receive Torah. So raise your hand if you have Shavuot plans. Anybody like staying up all night? Yeah, cool. I love that. Feel free to type into the chat what you plan on doing for Shavuot so that we can get some ideas together. One of the things that I love about the ritual or the tradition of Shavuot is that, you know, this journey that we've been on through the Omer can feel like kind of an individual one. We did Passover and that was collective, but then we're in these months of ER, and it's really about your individual quest towards this openness. But this is Judaism, and so that means that it's not really about the individual, it's about the community. And Sivan and Shavuot is certainly about the community. In fact, the image of us receiving Torah is that everyone that has ever existed is at Mount Sinai together. I mean, I'm standing shoulder to shoulder with my great grandmother, whose name was probably Sarah too. And I'm also standing, you know, shoulder to shoulder with like my great granddaughter, who's also there. And so we get to be links in the chain across everyone that has ever existed. And any idea or thought that has ever touched down on earth is transmuted on this day. So that is a beautiful image. And actually, Rashi, medieval commentator, says that on Shavuot, we are like one human with one heart. And so as we start to drop into our sit for today, I want to give us all permission to be shoulder to shoulder with the entirety of folks receiving Torah, Jews and non-Jews, humans across earth and all of time, and that we are actually breathing together. We are one human, we are one heart, and we are downloading this spiritual wisdom together. My other invitation is that when we say Torah, we're not just talking about scrolls. We're also talking about all the commentary that gets fit in between the lines of texts and the thousands of years of reflection that we've inherited, that we could pick up the books and see, and also what we're doing now that will be part of the lineage. And so I also want to invite us, while we're with everyone in the biggest, most inclusive version of humans receiving wisdom, we're together shoulder to shoulder, and we're downloading the entirety of what our hearts and our souls are thirsty for. So with that, let's get into it. Can ground your feet to the floor. Notice whatever is touching a chair, or if you're lying down, touching earth, and just allow your body to be supported completely. And we'll start by taking some audible breaths together. You're muted, but the sounds of your exhales can let everyone else around you know it's time for this sacred moment. Noticing if we can start our meditation with our exhale as a tool for ourselves to become more relaxed in our bodies. All 185 of us, we can take an inhale in together. And all 186 of us, one person joined, to take an exhale together. Inhaling as one human, exhaling with one heart. Inhaling as one human, and exhaling with one heart. I'll keep some sacred quiet for a couple of moments. If you'd like to, feel free to walk around the party. Who do you see? Who's standing shoulder to shoulder with you at this awe-inspiring moment? Who do you want to give a huge hug to right now? Everyone's there. Miriam leading us. She's there. Her brothers are there too. Here in Mount Sinai, this big collective spiritual experience where all of humanity is standing together. Whose hand do you hold? And what does it feel like to hold it? In this intentional intergenerational festival, notice what wisdom you're seeking, and also what wisdom you're transmitting and giving over. It's not our only time, it's just Sivan 5784. For this festival of receiving, notice the quality of openness that's required. And in places that feel constricted or are blocking the flow of wisdom, information, love, connectedness, interconnectedness, oneness. Imagine you have any tool that's ever existed or could ever exist, and use that tool to help bring harmony with you, with others, in your relationship, and with the divine. And just give yourself the permission to have the tool. In our last few moments together in this sit, I invite you to bask in the glory of the openness that you have, and download the wisdom that's coming from above or from within or from your hands of the person you're holding or the hug that you received. Place your soul in the web of this community. Each of us created in the image of the divine, and all of us created in the divine. We'll get on our time capsule back to our bodies, back to your chair, back to the awareness of where your legs or your hips are supported by earth completely. And we'll take some intentional breaths together on this call. Inhaling and exhaling. Take in some soul, inhaling. Exhaling. And last breath together, inhaling. And big exhale. As we come out of our sit, turn the corners of our mouth to the sky and see if you can catch some eyes on a Zoom screen near you. And feel free to take your hands and place them on your body in any place that needs the extra connectedness. And I'm really grateful for this sit together. And we'll move into the closing of our sacred time together. And a reminder that this present moment awareness with the Hebrew calendar in mind is for all of us.
Sarah, thank you. Thank you on behalf of all of us. I'm always so deeply moved by your teaching. We continue our practice now with the recitation of Kaddish for those among us in mourning. There are so many among us who are sorrowful and mourning now, and may we hold them all in our hearts. If you are in mourning, please put the names of those you're remembering and praying for in the chat. And we invite everyone to join in by rising. You can unmute your sound and rise in body or in spirit to recite the Kaddish. And together we say, Yit Gadol, Thank you, everyone. So that's the end of our formal program, but we do, if you have to leave, may you go in peace and full heart, and we hope to see you again tomorrow. If you can stay, though, we'll have some question and answer with Sarah, which is always so wonderful.
Where we cry.
I'm going to cry. Sarah, if you have a question for Sarah, please, you can put it in the chat. And I just want to say, I'm always really moved by your teaching, but today just really especially moved, like to be invited in that way, to feel connected with everyone and to feel to be reminded that Torah gives our hearts and souls what we need. And maybe like others, I feel like on a day-to-day basis, I'm sort of doing okay. But you remind me that I need to remember that my heart is breaking and I need to tend to it. It's just a poignant time. And that what I need is this community. And what we find together. For me personally today, it was just very healing, hard and wonderful and healing, all of those things. So I'm just very grateful. And Lynn agrees.
I think there's a lot of people who are grieving and there's a lot to grieve. So just by show of hands, raise your hand if you're grieving or you feel like there's a lot to grieve.
Yeah.
And I know that there's loss. There's loss of lives in Israel for soldiers. It's currently happening. And we're giving voice to that. And there's also a lot of continued grief in the ripple of everything that continues interpersonally in our homes as a result of war. And it's all a lot.
Yeah. So I really thank you for that. And for the beautiful articulation of the time we're in, this culmination as we sort of come to this moment at Sinai when we're all one. We're one human, one heart, one soul receiving the Torah. So do people have questions that they'd like to ask? Sarah? Anyone? No? Maybe Sarah, you can, well, I just want to comment that Nancy said during Kaddish, I felt like I was saying Kaddish for everyone who is no longer embodied on earth who stood with me at Sinai. Yeah, it's beautiful. I don't know, Sarah, is there more that you would want to say about the month of Sivan, maybe about the program you're running tonight, about this sort of this moment in our Jewish calendar?
I have a question back. I'm curious if folks want to write in the chat whose hand they were holding or who they gave a hug to at the receiving party, aka Shavuot. I immediately felt very strongly that I was holding my paternal grandmother, Frida Waxman, in one hand and my daughter in the other. That's what I was saying. It was going to be crying hour. It brought me so much peace and love that I never even met her. And that's what's beautiful about the image of transmitting into time and space and being in a collective presence together with people whose hand you didn't actually get to hold. And what that's like to give yourself the opportunity to be in closeness, at least even in just your mind. But Judaism teaches us that this is an opportunity to do it.
Judaism teaches me all the time about the power of community. And in this moment, like this community and those who are alive with us, but also those before us. And I think this group has heard me say maybe before, I was raised at the end of a dirt road in Vermont by this highly waspy family who just didn't really believe in community. And it's a gift of Judaism that this tradition gives over and over.
And there's different schools of thought if you want to explore sort of transmitting your soul to a different plane with other people at the same time. Isaac Luria is a good place to go for more on that. I did not make this up. I'm just part of the Sinai party where I get to speak my voice into the inheritance of wisdom that we're sharing together. And one of the things I love about Judaism is the communal aspect of it. It just is. And so it's about individualization within community. And Sivan's like the culmination of that. Like I said, we're all responsible for ourselves and we're also all responsible for each other. And we're all interconnected with each other and we all have agency and ownership over our lives. And also we are interdependent with each other. And that is beautiful and complex. I'm getting private messages about being both vulnerable and comforted and by the meditation and where to go from here. So this is my PSA that I never recommend just quickly closing a meditation on Zoom anytime, or even especially on Zoom when you're in your house by yourself and just like pretending you could just, call the dishwasher or repair guy back really quick. So when you close your computer from this meditation, to do nourishing practices for yourself that align to the present moment. Maybe that means you're washing your hands. because you had that powerful image and you want to have that separation of this moment. Maybe you go and do a mikvah. I don't know. Water is what's on my mind right now, but drinking a glass of water or anything else. And so I want to just share that for those of you who are exploring, who are interested in that. Then the other thing is that what does it look like and feel like to be in a time when community in general, humanity, and certainly in this very small niche network of Jews or people who are loving Jews or interested in Jewish wisdom, to be in so much pain and agony. And I don't have a like magic wand answer for you other than you just keep going forward and pull from the wisdom of folks who've been in a situation like this where sadness is the common denominator, and try to carve out the moments where we allow ourselves to be fully in that, and carve out the moments where we feel joy again and a range of human expression, and that it's okay to have boundaries around your time so that you're able to feel all the feelings. That's kind of my thought about it. And the PSA that the summer in the Hebrew calendar has never been a time of like parties and barbecues for the Jewish people. It's been rather tumultuous. So to just make sure that we're intentional about how we're using our time, which is what Rosh Chodesh teaches us, that as a free person, we are in ownership of our time, and that we inherited that by being the descendants of folks who left slavery in Egypt and got Rosh Chodesh and the new moon as an opportunity to set intentions each month.
There are a lot of questions now, sort of.
Okay,
let's
One go to them.
Julie asked further back. There it is. Julie asks, can you say more about the tools you mentioned? And I'm not remembering the context specifically. Maybe you do, Sarah, but you said something like, and all of you have, Julie, maybe you remember, you can put it in the chat, but all of you have these tools that you can use to, I think it was in reference to
I said something about if you're noticing. Well, I started with the sort of the assumption I hope we'd all gotten to, which is that in order to be fully open and receiving, we needed openness, and that's a challenging state to just arrive at, and that sometimes it will take time to get to the openness. Hence, the Omer is a whole thing to get us there. That if there was some awareness around places that were closed, to give yourself any tool that you needed in order to help open.
Right.
And so it was very vague because I wanted to give us all the chance to grab our own tool belts, which might look different for different people. So I didn't give a specific tool to use, but we could think of a bunch of them, and I'm sure the chat could help us think about what spiritual tools are available to create openness, even in a time that is as horrible and horrific and sad as this is. I went immediately with water. That's just like my go-to, but it's that's not the only thing. Elements in general are used across Jewish practice and humans. Water, fire, wind, things like that. But then there's also like practical tools.
Interesting. Well, as I said, I found your teaching in this sit, which I feel very much connected to the people in this room, a really useful tool for me. And I think I'm going to be back on showing up at the sit more often than I have been. Michael asks a question. Sarah, how has your practice evolved to reach today's intergenerational and communal healing focus? It's warm and welcome, but unusual in my meditation experience, which is often seems individually directed. It's interesting. I mean, I think people do think of meditation often as very an individual experience rather than an intergenerational and communal experience.
I think through the lens, like of our meditation through the lens of Judaism, and Judaism, to me, if it were one word, it would be why. And if it was two words, it would be community and why. So I kind of go back and forth about which one I think that it really is if I strip it all away. And in terms of my work around at the Well, which is mission is to enhance women's wellness and well-being rooted in Jewish wisdom, we are thinking about wholeness and using Judaism as a tool for it. And another tool, here's a language, but for me, the tool is actually around spiritual time and interconnection. And it is unique that there's such a focus on community in the wellness, health and wellness world. So where like Vipassana meditation has transmuted down to mindfulness practices, and we won't go into the history of that. There's a lot of individualization in that exercise. But Judaism is community, and that, so there's so many aspects, and actually most mitzvahs are performed with other people. So I want to frame community as a well-being practice, and when it's specifically Jewish, it is about us together. But Judaism also does have distinctions between each of our own responsibilities to perform our own mitzvot, for example, but that we're all actually interconnected. Does that make sense, an answer? And then about the intergenerational part, again, like I am named for my great grandmother's name, Sarah. I am part of an intergenerational community. And I think that that is good for our souls. And the research that we've done in our work has proven that. And the Jewish community loves to segment people by age. And in general, I think society loves to segment people by age. And actually, one of the most nourishing places that I know is my family's table that has a bunch of different generations together at once. And so I want to help amplify more spaces for that and pinpoint and showcase the aspects of that within Judaism. I mean, we even debate with people who have passed. That's like what at the dinner table studying text, we're like, again, like in this sort of intergenerational conversation. And that's cool and beautiful. And even more recently in our work around Rosh Chodesh have been amplifying the importance of creating intergenerational opportunities for connection, and believe Rosh Chodesh actually could be one of those really important places. Hello, people. Why aren't you doing Rosh Chodesh in your house with your families? This is one of my big questions. I don't understand why it's not done that way. So it's a current passion of mine to help grandmothers and nieces and aunts and all of the folks get together and talk.
Yeah, Rachel just wrote, and I love what she wrote. That's hilarious. I'm going to stay with me. We debate with our ancestors all the time. Yeah, it's wonderful, and it is a little hilarious and beautiful. And I just, we're at 1:15, but just on behalf of all of us, for reminding us that we don't have to feel constricted and cut off, and that we can come together in our sorrow and in our joy, and that is the strength of our Jewish community. So grateful to you, Sarah, and you're going to
Feeling
see
is
tonight.
mutual.
I gotta get
love being with this group of people.
Oh, I love this group of people so much. Okay, Jet, can you put the link in before we all leave, the link for the program tonight at the Well? I know you put it in before. Sorry, I'm asking you to go back. Thank you. So thank you, Jet, for holding the space so beautifully as you always do. Sarah, thank you for your wise teaching.
Thanks for having me, everyone.
And thank you, everyone in this group, for being here today.
I hope everyone has a nourishing and peaceful and communal month of Sivan.
Yes.